Those of us who live in cities might think that most of the world is paved over, but in fact, half of the Earth's habitable land is agriculture. All that land is used just to produce food for people and for the animals. Now think about that. Welcome to Eco Africa. I am Sandra Twinovideo.
And I am Chris Elems. Glad to have you with us today. That's a good point, Sandra. And we've learned the hard way that not all farming methods are equally sustainable or healthy, especially about their impact on the climate. That's one of our themes today. Here's a look at what else we have in store. Boosting crop yields with the help of solar power. Battling the illegal coral trade. And making the most of raw organic waste.
No matter where you live, it's nearly impossible to escape pollution and contamination, whether in the air, soil, or even water. For example, from pesticides, they were originally hailed as game changers. But we now know that they not only poison the food we eat, but also kill insects that are vital to processes such as pollination. The tide, however, is starting to change. Right here in Uganda, for example, the government is taking steps to transform conventional agriculture to an organic system. Well, our Eco Africa correspondent, Julius Mugambwa, paid a visit to one especially promising project.
About 70 kilometers north of Uganda's capital, Kampala, lies a farm with a difference. From above, it resembles a tropical rainforest, but below the canopy is one of the largest biodynamic farms in Africa. It is a life project of Nazim Shivji, who runs the farm on sustainable principles for more than 50 years. The idea of biodynamic agriculture is to farm successfully while intervening as little as possible in natural processes.
Each of these things finds its own way. Every live plant creates its own source of energy and interconnectedness. So we try to minimize our disruption of the land, the plants, the soil, the insects, the biodiversity.
In 2008, Humphrey Farm became Sub-Saharan Africa's first farm to receive a biodynamic certification issued by Demeter International, a key organizer of organic farming around the world. A core principle of biodynamic farming is enabling diversity of the farm and the landscape, putting living ecological systems first.
The entire farm concept is very unlike what most farms are referred to as monocropping. Here you see within a 5-meter zone, we have black pepper, we have grevillea, we have coffee, we have cocoa growing, and bird's eye chilies.
The holistic approach also means that the livestock kept on the farm are allowed to graze freely, often feeding among the crops on the pasture. In return, their manure enriches the soil. Fertilizers use is strongly restricted in biodynamic farming, which has its own methods of keeping soil fertile.
A lot of our farm waste and farm residues, we compost them back with animal dung to make a more rich and nutrient-rich manure that we apply in the field called compost, which we integrate with other biodynamic preparations.
These organic preparations were specified by Austrian scientist Rudolf Steiner, who started the biodynamic farming methodology in the 1920s. Treating the soil sustainably can take many forms, as a farming expert pointed out.
The soil should never be left bare because the nitrogen evaporates back into the atmosphere. And so the idea behind this drive of regenerative agriculture is because the soils really are no longer responsive, and that's one of the biggest challenges the farmers are suffering with here. But now, as they embrace regenerative agriculture, they are protecting the soil, making sure that it is fully covered. They are beginning to see increases in yield.
Having a biodynamic certification means the farm is subject to higher standards than usual organic farms. It can charge a higher price for its produce, which is prepared and packaged to suit consumers in the EU, USA, and Arab Emirates.
On the export market, the products which are needed, they don't have to be scorched, damaged, or having any internal damage, or having any pests.
Biodynamic farming has proven a big success for Humphrey, which exports an average of 240 tons of organic produce annually. The size of the farm is crucial to the success. At 600 hectares, it is far bigger than most Ugandan holdings. Larger areas can be left to regenerate. So, is it a role model for other farmers in Uganda?
The people here, the small-scale holder farmers can still do what he's doing and manage what we call intensive farming. You know, you have a small space, but you give it you give it your all. You manage it. When we are using nutrients, you're not broadcasting. We do what we call microdosing of nutrients at the root zone of the plant. You know, you take care of those nutrients, and it's possible to do regenerative agriculture at smallholder scale because we have seen the successes already.
On Humphrey Farm, there are also other benefits, such as the 5,000 moringa trees, which have been described in some studies as a miracle plant for their nutritional and environmental properties.
Even the oil itself, moringa oil, has a medicinal benefit. It is a health supplement benefit. Now, I've just learned that the Japanese have done a study on this, where a moringa tree sequesters 20 times as much carbon dioxide as other trees.
Nazim Shivji says that a sustainability assessment found that for every kilo of produce created at Humphrey, 37.3 kilos of CO2 equivalents was squeezed. But air transport puts a big dent in overall carbon calculation.
Climate change is on us, and it's furthermore in Africa. But also, these farmers can also mitigate against climate change by increasing agroforestry trees and also growing crops that are able to sequester carbon. And regenerative agriculture can also enable the farmers adapt, because all the practices that are promoted are adaptive. It is integrated soil fertility management and conservation agriculture.
The pioneering project has also given training to thousands of independent farmers in Uganda. Many are certified to work as organic food suppliers or outgrowers for Humphrey, who buy their produce and export it under their name.
They have introduced a very reliable market for our organic produce. They offer a good price and pay on time compared to the local market. It brings in quite a bit more and we benefit.
Nazim Shivji hopes that his ecological approach to land use may inspire other farmers to build resilience against climate change, which would also improve livelihoods.
What a great project. Another method of farming also aims to protect ecosystems. Permaculture, derived from the phrase permanent agriculture. It's all about working with and respecting nature.
That's right, Sandra. Respecting nature, studying it, and imitating it. Nearly 40 years ago, 2 Australians received the Right Livelihood Award for developing these natural methods of managing the land. Today, the concept is more alive than ever.
Usually, the playbook for modern agriculture goes like this. Buy a huge plot, plow the earth, plant one single crop, fertilize, use pesticides, harvest. Buy a bigger plot, plow it to death, be forced to buy new seeds, plant the same super-engineered crop, emit carbon, poison the soil, degrade the earth. And that, we're supposed to think, is the only way to produce our food.
To produce food in a sustainable or regenerative way. So I want to leave this place better than I found it. Anywhere in the world you could do this.
He follows permaculture principles, sells directly to local restaurants and shops, works by hand and recycles his waste, meaning his food is basically climate neutral, unheard of in industrial agriculture. Permaculture is a mix of the words permanent and agriculture. The idea is to create a food production system that is self-sustaining and circular. The gist of the idea is not new though. It's inspired by many indigenous traditions of self-sufficient farming, like living off small plots of land and planting multiple crops. Many of its techniques have been tried and tested for millennia. So say you bought a plot. The first thing you're supposed to do is to look at the landscape, water flow, climate, and design your farm around the circumstances. Falk's problem, very dry ground.
Yeah. Here's a good example. So yeah, it's really coarse sand with like small stones in, so it doesn't hold any water. The water just goes in here and drops right through.
Since sprinkling thirsty crops with tons of water, like industrial agriculture often does, is not an option, Falk made a so-called swale, a trench that lies lower than the rest of the property, where water can trickle in.
I put like lots of biomass in that dug out trench and put all the earth on that hill and then put logs and sticks into that trench.
It's crazy. It just looks like a bunch of logs somewhere, and this actually acts as a sponge and as water collection system.
Water collection system for the trees to really grow.
He applied the same idea underneath the paths between the fields and covered the trenches with wood chips, a process called mulching. Second on the agenda, protecting and building up a fertile ground. We all know the big trenches tractors leave when tilling the soil. But in permaculture, the topsoil with the minerals and its own ecosystem stays intact. What's striking is also that every little row has different produce growing on it, and each one gets replanted up to 4 times a year, producing more with less space. And if one crop fails, others grow to balance it out. But some rows aren't even for harvesting. Strips between rows are kept completely wild, so that native animals can thrive, promoting biodiversity, with one other pleasant side effect. These small slugs were eating a lot of Falk salads, until bigger slugs appeared eating the smaller ones.
So it's a natural pesticide?
It's a natural pesticide, yes. And it's not only with slugs, it's with mice, it's with insects a lot, with birds. Like we have all these birds nesting around, so we make all these hedges that actually are really nice nesting grounds for birds, and the birds eat all the insects.
Permaculture has gained an international following, with farms everywhere from India, South Africa to Brazil. Farmers are combining the ideas with local agricultural traditions and adapting them to their specific contexts. In a world that's dominated by big farms and industrial agriculture, farmers like Falk need to get creative if they want to turn a profit. His vegetables are more expensive than conventional produce, similar in price to organic veggies sold around the region.
Vegetables are expensive. Well, these cheap prices come from cheap labor, and you can't feed the world on €1 carrots because it's destroying the world.
Permaculture has one big advantage. If the system does become self-sustaining, you need very little inputs to produce food.
So I have a really high profit margin. I'm actually 80% of my revenue is profit, which is it's insane because I don't have a tractor. The only things I actually pay for is the compost and the seeds. It's not that I'm getting rich, but I don't need much to live off because I have my food and everything here as well.
So what could industrial agriculture learn from permaculture?
Some things are definitely adaptable with the compost and also with the rows in between rows with habitat. It's definitely all possible. Agroforestry is a big theme there, to actually also grow trees around. It's not to be afraid that you actually have shade on your field. I think that's all things that big agriculture needs to address.
As well as planting multiple crops that are more resilient, using less water and building up soil. All changes that have been proven to work and have already been made in larger scale organic farms.
The marine ecosystem of the Mediterranean has been badly affected by climate change. Its coral systems, which play a key role in marine biodiversity, have also been hit. Heat waves and the acidification of the oceans caused by increased CO2 levels have decimated many endemic coral species. In recent times, conservation measures have given stocks in the Mediterranean a reprieve. But now, the jewelry industry has rediscovered these colorful marine creatures.
Tabarka, a coastal town in northwestern Tunisia. For centuries, it's played a role in coral fishing and trade in the Mediterranean region. But these days, business is bad. Nearly all of the once lively handicraft shops on the beach promenade are closed. Mourad Arfawi is one of the few who continue to make jewellery from coral. He assumed he'd pass his business on to his children. But now he's not so certain. Coral is in precariously short supply.
At some point, there will probably be no more coral left at all. It will die out.
Mourad Arfawi's concerns are justified. Red coral in particular is highly sought after in the jewellery industry. But for years, Mediterranean coral populations have been collapsing, which led to a bump in criminal activity. Salah Bajawi used to dive for coral, quite legally, he says. But the rise in black market practices made that both unprofitable and unsustainable.
There's a lot of illegal fishing going on, and that creates huge problems for us because it destroys our coral stocks and the entire seabed. If 10 kilos of coral are growing on a rock, illegal fishing methods will destroy all the habitat around it. 9 kilos of the coral is lost, and only 1 kilo ends up being caught.
He says the poached coral is sold across the world. Demand in southern Europe and Asia is especially high. The former diver says it's hard for authorities to verify the coral's origins.
Coral is almost like cocaine these days. A while ago, they caught an Italian man with a boat who was transporting coral to Italy illegally. Everyone knows smuggling is happening here.
But it's not just fishing nets, poaching and smuggling that are destroying coral reefs in the Mediterranean. Heat is the main culprit. The entire region has been massively affected by global warming. Biologist Sabri Al-Jaziri has been researching the coral off the coast for a long time.
The water temperature is steadily increasing. We're seeing that here in the Mediterranean especially. And we're already feeling the effects. It's attracting many new species that aren't native to this region. They are often very invasive, especially those here in Tunisia and in Italy. That in turn affects the water quality and the coral skeletons. In the end, the coral becomes too weak to fix itself to the rock and can no longer develop properly.
Important ocean biotopes are being lost. Of the 5,000 known coral species worldwide, around 150 live in the Mediterranean. The reefs are home to many different marine animals, and they also provide them a source of food. When they collapse, it endangers the entire food chain in the Mediterranean, and with it many other species, such as dolphins and seabirds. Jewellery artisan Mourad Arfawi is convinced that all the problems plaguing the coral stem from one thing: humans and their greed.
Just like many other species, our corals are dying because we no longer give them time to grow and develop. We simply don't appreciate the treasures of our oceans anymore.
Our last report today takes us to Morocco. Like in much of North Africa, climate change is badly impacting Morocco's agricultural sector. Initiatives have been launched to mitigate the effect, but more resilience will be needed.
That is right, Chris, because scientific studies show that Morocco needs to adapt its use of resources in farming to the changing climate, both on a national scale and on individual farms. Making those farms more self-sustaining and energy efficient is a big step in the right direction.
Solar power is gaining ground in the agricultural sector as more solar arrays are being set up to cover on-site energy needs. The irrigation pumps on Moroccan farmer Ahmed Belazar's fields have been powered by the sun for 5 years now. He used to rely on butane gas, a fossil fuel he has had to buy in the city.
We were determined to stop contributing to the damage being inflicted on our environment. So we decided to switch to solar power as a clean, eco-friendly alternative. It's a good investment. It's more profitable in terms of business and better for our machinery.
This farm is located in Kenitra, an arid region in the northeastern part of Morocco. For the past 10 years, fruit and olive trees have mainly been grown in the sandy soil here, which can only be done using drip irrigation.
We mix an organic substance with the sand. Then we put it into these holes. These hoses function as distributors.
And to keep the hoses from getting blocked, several thousand euros were invested in an elaborate filter system. The water that is pumped out of the catch basin is filtered before being spent through pipes to the fields.
The filters need regular checks and maintenance because they are vital to the process. They're especially important for what's known as localized irrigation, which requires water that's free of any sort of impurity.
Its 70 solar panels required an investment worth approximately 80,000 euros, but the system meets all the farm's electricity needs. Companies like Tech Maroc have had their work cut out in recent years. After initial installation, technicians make regular maintenance checks.
After turning on the pump, water immediately flows into the tank, which is now full of water. The tube, which is connected to filters, channels the water to be used for irrigation.
Even though renewables are rarely subsidized by the government, more and more farmers are switching to solar power. In the last few years alone, another 10,000 solar systems have been installed on Morocco's farms. Tech Maroc is benefiting from this trend. They offer solar panels with different power ratings depending on how much electricity is needed. Used mostly for irrigation to treat produce or make biofertilizers, Belazar says green energy is worth the investment.
Instead of investing in gas-operated machines, which are expensive, we can opt for renewable energy. And it's actually very profitable, because within 2 years, I can recoup the money paid out for the equipment. And after that, I'm making a profit.
So farmers like Ahmed Belazar can kill two birds with one stone. They earn more while also taking better care of the environment.
That's it for this week's edition of Eco Africa. Hope you liked the show. Next week, we'll continue to look at more inspiring environmental initiatives and the people behind them. I am Sandra Twinobio, signing off from Kampala, right here in Uganda. See you next time.
See you next week, Sandra. And I hope you all will join us next week too. In the meantime, take care of yourself and the world around you. All the best and goodbye from me, Chris Lems, in Ogun State, Nigeria.